Yes.
Okay. By a show of hands, how many of you know of the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1954? None of you? Okay. Well, what if the roles were reversed and America became the victim of such a situation with Syria as the culprit? Well, after doing some research on Syria and the importance that it holds to Americans, today I'm going to inform you on the importance of foreign affairs, where Syria is located, as well as its arsenal of unconventional weapons, the people that make it up, and how the uprising can affect us as Americans. Most of you agreed that you had a weak knowledge on foreign affairs, but it's important to become aware of them because they can affect our lives in many different ways. Prices, our jobs, gasoline, and taxes are all just a few things that are impacted through our interactions with the outside world. We must also work together with our allies, reward those who share our similar values, and join arms in the fight against hatred and tyranny such as that going on in Syria today. Most of you knew that Syria was located in the Middle East, but this location has a more substantial meaning because it borders Iraq, is near to Iran, and both of which we've had problems with in the past and continue to have in the future and present, as well as bordering our allies of Turkey, Israel, and Jordan. Syria also supports a number of terrorist groups, including Iran and Hamas, which could cause problems for the United States in the future. However, not everyone supports these views. The Syrian government is under the strict rule of a large, heavily armed side known as the regime, which was created and ruled today by President Bashar al-Assad. There's also another side known as the rebels, which opposes the regime and consists of Democrats, liberals, Islamists, and terrorists, all working together under the common goal to destroy the regime, who they see as a force that has been brutalizing their communities. According to the News International, the two sides have descended into a civil war over the last 18 months under their conflicting views, killing over 30,000 people in the capital of Damascus and city of Aleppo. And during this time, the regime has taken precautions in order to protect its chemical weapons. Most of you are unaware that Syria possesses an arsenal of unconventional weapons, but according to the Haaretz, an Israeli news source, U.S. officials believe that Syria, a sworn enemy of the United States, possesses dozens of biological and chemical weapon sites scattered across its country, with its stockpiles including venomous nerve agents such as VX, serine, and tabium, all of which are very similar to pesticides and extremely deadly to humans. But what concerns President Barack Obama and U.S. Defense Secretary Leon Panetta the most is recent news of relocation of some of these weapons to different areas, and it's unofficial when exactly these movements have taken place, but news has been on the rise about it over the last several weeks to months. As of now, the movements are seen as just a simple increase in security during the conflict, and the regime claims that they have no intent whatsoever to use it against their own people or other countries. But Obama has made it very clear to Assad that any attempt to deploy these weapons could cross a red line for Americans and potentially provoke U.S. military action, which could affect us all. Most of you agree that we would be affected by the uprising, but how exactly? Well, first of all, violence in Syria could easily spill into neighboring Iraq, where U.S. troops and American civilians are still living today, and that could provoke already pre-existing problems that we have with them. And secondly, Al-Qaeda, which is the United States' #1 enemy, could have another place from the Middle East to operate from, and this could build up their strengths and use their forces against either us or our allies that I mentioned earlier. Iran could also possibly get their hands on these chemical weapons because they're heavily supported by Syria, and whether or not they are capable of using this kind of weapons is something that the United States does not yet know. Additionally, violence in Syria, which is a place of oil production, could affect global oil speculation and ultimately cost us Americans more at the pump. And lastly, war is not a cheap matter. If we would have to intervene in this uprising, then our economy would take a very substantial blow, and it's seen earlier in the Iraqi war that cost us $1 trillion. Today I shared with you just a little bit about the importance of foreign affairs, the location of Syria and the people present there, as well as its capability at weaponry and how the uprising can affect us. It's important to become aware of the world outside the one in which we live in, and not to underestimate the power of a country halfway across the world, because they can shake up our lives with the simple press of a button. As Ernest Hemingway once said, "No weapon has ever settled a moral dispute. It can impose a solution, but not guarantee it to be a just one."